you peeps, this is Edo here for another Let's Play of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Here with me is Nightshade.
It's time!
It's time. Oh boy, is it time. We are going to court. But first we gotta save. And,
Save file deleted.
Now
Start over.
or never.
February 25, 9:47 a.m.
Ooh, that's too
District
early.
Court, Defendant, Lobby number 2. Yeah, I know, right?
This is defendant lobby, all right. But there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Edgeworth! Edgeworth! Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 7777777 ID number is. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt on this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True. Not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling on the defendant. 5 minutes after the trial starts, Lana will be found guilty. But she didn't do it! I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, right? Bye, Edward! This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now.
February 25, 10 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 9.
The court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. The defense is ready, Your Honor. And the prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is where the prosecutor puts forth the opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Oh, no! Chief Gant.
Hi!
He actually appeared.
Morning, folks! How's everyone doing? Hey, Archie. Been back to the pool yet?
I've been drowning up just it isn't my work.
Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that.
If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is this proposal of yours? He always does this. I hate this pause.
But, Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court.
She wants to do what?
Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she shall be granted her request. In the end, it shall save everyone a lot of time and trouble.
Oh no. Well, here I am. What's this all about, defendant? I'd just like to make one simple request, and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st. Why am I the only character that says it correctly? I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana! Ah! Bullcrap! You can't! Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. Oh. But Lana! Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. What? Could you really do that?
Technically, yes, but never really hand well.
Okay. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please.
Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise.
This can't be happening.
It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defense.
The defendant.
Oh, defendant.
Oh! One moment, Your Honor.
Mr. Edgeworth!
The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature.
Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you. But why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut,
I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant.
What?
Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With that sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes.
Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy.
I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness.
Oh, to whom?
As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue. I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it.
Ooh. Very well, the court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant?
Worthy, you'll live to regret this. Mark my words.
Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins.
Yeah, Edgeworth! Suck it to him!
Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation.
My name is Emma Skye. My occupation, I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator.
2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct?
Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time.
Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant?
Yes, it most certainly is.
Okay then. He's like, you gonna question me, Judge? I don't think so.
You sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. Woo!
You're technically still off the case, Phoenix.
That's besides the point. Woo!
Witness testimony 2 years ago.
I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw that instant. The man raised up his knife and and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest.
It's a good thing you weren't harmed.
I passed out. I don't remember much.
That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgewood, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder?
That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence.
Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. Oh my god, why do I have to...
But Phoenix is off the case!
Right. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct?
Yes, she was second in command under Chief Detective Gant. My sister. She was the best detective ever.
Yes, I remember. Chief Detective Gant and Miss Sky used to be quite the pair.
I believe they share the same office.
That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dreamed about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day, too.
The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day.
Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work.
A man.
Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer.
Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest.
When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right?
Upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky and Gant's office.
There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. That's when I saw him.
What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were 2 people present during Dark's questioning, Detective Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Gant was there too? Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony.
I assume that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark.
When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead.
And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in?
I don't clearly remember what happened then, but...
Can you tell us about that?
Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. Just then, the lights went out.
The lights?
It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby.
So the electricity went out.
Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in the room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Right, but just when lightning flashed again outside, that sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind.
I see.
I told a detective about what I saw then.
A detective?
Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case.
Oh. Detective Bruce Goodman. The victim.
Oh, I want to hear more.
So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago?
Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial.
And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw?
Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture.
A picture? Yes, I think she mentioned that before.
Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough?
Ask about the picture. This picture, the witness drew. I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture.
Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor. I drew a picture of the scene at once, but it seems to have been lost.
Am I gonna press that then?
I mean, you can.
You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right?
Yes, I wanted to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now, whenever I close my eyes.
That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died, yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken?
But I did draw it, I swear. I'm not just imagining it.
This picture that Emma drew, that reminds me. I guess I should check the evidence again. Well, anyway, let's continue. This scene that imprinted an image in your mind, can you please describe it to us?
The man.
That must have been a real shock.
Even now, when I close my eyes, I can still see it just as clearly.
Tell us, what were you doing at that moment? I believe you testified that Joe Dark was holding you hostage.
When lightning struck and the lights went out, Mr. Marshall jumped on Dart. I was thrown aside and the two began wrestling each other. I'm pretty sure I was watching them.
Emma doesn't have any reason to lie, but Lana sure does. I need to get Emma to tell me as much about this as she can. Okay, so it's the picture, I know it is. Oh! Mr.
Now,
Edward.
before we go further,
Yeah?
care to share your reasoning here?
Because because there was half of the evidence that was taken away, remember? We were wondering why there was half a list when we found it.
Mm-hmm.
Why would Gant put it, because he hid it in his desk, right? That's where we had it. Why would he want to keep it if it was something from the SL9 incident? It must have had something in there, and I bet you that's what it is. There's something in there that indicates that. Mr. Edgewood.
Yes.
This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you still insist on denying its existence? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold!
This is the evidence list from the SL9 incident.
Please turn it over.
Turn it over.
So this is something you did not check earlier when you got the evidence.
Oh, I never checked it.
Yep. So you kind of locked in.
Oh! Yes, what is that?
Hey, that's it. That's the picture I drew.
Wow, did I luck the hell out?
I guess the Phoenix in me is lucking the hell out here.
Still bluffing your way through.
Yeah, bluffing is the best way to beat the game. Woo! I'm truly becoming Phoenix Wright. I literally thought it was because he was hiding it, which made me think that it had to have been something about that.
Mean,
I knew it couldn't be.
That is true. I mean, you're right, because this is the part that was against drawers. But he did not hide it because of the list, but because what's on the behind the list.
Yeah. Indeed, two men appear to be wrestling here.
What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list.
Huh? These lists. They're different from each other.
What?
It would appear, Mr. Edgewood, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You could see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other.
So you see, Mr. Edward, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you. What? What?
He's not happy.
Order. Who'd have thought the picture would have been drawn on the back of the list?
That was handed to Detective Goodman in the questioning room.
Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor?
Are you all right, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head.
Oh, that's just my normal physical condition.
If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edwards' list.
Yes, that's quite convincing, Miss Edward.
It's possible. Let's see.
I never looked at the back.
Just like I did. Yeah!
How did I miss this for 2
Is
years?
something wrong?
Do you even have to ask?
Oh, he's seething with rage. Or perhaps he's jiggling with rage.
Sorry, Your Honor. There's something drawn on the back of my list. This is that thing! The blue badger?
Yes, that's that thing. That thing that was dancing in the evidence room.
Apparently the head of criminal affairs used this for his blueprint. I guess he was out of scrap paper? Great.
It's been updated.
Very well, witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago?
It's actually a nice kind of drawing, actually.
Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor.
What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she saw the picture. Ooh, yes, what is it?
Witness testimony, Emma's picture.
This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were the shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw that instant.
Oh, that's it? Oh, crap, that's like nothing.
To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind.
Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw.
Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Doc about the murder. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Okay. Not much of a freaking cross-examination, but we'll try. Did you draw this picture right after the incident?
I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything.
During that time, the detective team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge under the direction of Damon Gant and Lana Skye. 2 or 3 days later, the memory should still have been fresh in her mind.
Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black?
So at the time, you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue.
No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor.
You were knocked to the floor.
Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed.
Poor Emma, I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed? You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place?
No, I'm sorry.
The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further?
What?
Hey, I'm not the bad guy here.
Anyway, this picture.
Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw?
Of course, this is the exact scene.
It wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detective? Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright? No, of course not. And you better watch out, or he might find some way to cut my salary.
I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me.
Mr. Wright, is it there something that's bothering you about this picture?
Huh?
Oh, well...
That's strange. She claims that this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind, and yet There's clearly a contradiction here. Because presenting a knife wouldn't help me, but presenting...
Would it? Why wouldn't it help you?
Because here's the problem. Here's the knife, that's one thing, but... Because the knife is broken already. But in the autopsy report... Oh, that's why. Because it said it was a single stab wound. But the tip was missing. Why would he be attacking again if the tip has already been in him? The picture shows as if he's about to stab him again. It's already gone. I'm presenting it. I think it's this.
You missed it. It's right there. Like 2-page.
It has to be. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction.
What? But I still remember it just like it was yesterday.
Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report?
It would have to be the tip of the knife. It'd be right here. If I can just get to it. Jesus said it was a single stab. The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see the tip is broken.
In fact, you don't even have to look closely to see that.
But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too.
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
I was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer.
I'm afraid it's not so simple, Mama. Huh? Where could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken.
Oh, what is the meaning of this?
Your eye is missing a little bit of
Perhaps the knife was
reaction.
broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there.
That's right. But what does this mean?
The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at that time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Oh ho ho, not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already about a little something called falsified evidence? You're treading on thin ice, Wright. All I'm saying is that this broken knife might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Oh, snap!
Order! 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 Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted?
Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the Keenan Prosecutor's Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story, there is a lie.
I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife.
If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife.
What are the chances of there being 2 broken knives?
Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? There is another one. If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error.
Mr. Wright,
In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife.
I assume then that you have some information about this other broken knife? If so, please feel free to enlighten us.
The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. Oh! Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's this. It has to be. That's the tip that's broken. Take it!
Yaha!
The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here inside this picture. This is the picture of the award ceremony.
What is it, Mr. Edward?
It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award prosecutor Marshall is holding. The tip is gone.
that's a broken knife.
As we earlier concluded, the knife in the picture was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood this award.
Order, I say!
Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given his broken shield and a broken knife. When he chased after, Joe Dark pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be. Oh, and why not, Mr. Edward? Because the King Prosecutor's award knife was the murder weapon, and the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh!
But the prosecutor was the one who actually died.
That's true. What's going on here? No interest! Don't do that! It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions.
Hold it!
Oh.
Wait, I remember now. I remember everything.
Witness?
Mr. Edgeworth,
What is it?
could you show me your evidence list again, please?
His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back?
I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it.
What? You drew that?
That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me.
It was the badger.
What's a
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness testimony. Would you please tell us what you recalled, Miss Sky?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, first the knife mix-up and now the blue badger. This should be interesting.
Witness testimony. Emma's recollection.
When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw a shadow.
Saw a shadow.
This is certainly most unusual.
Try impossible. The head detective of criminal affairs didn't even design him until until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago.
Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Stop! Please! Don't pursue this any further. Lana!
What is the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair.
But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Sky, we've already come this far. It's too late to turn back.
Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. And I say it will happen. It will happen. Bailiff, please detain the defendant.
It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. Destroy the core! Let's go! It's all of a sudden it turned to Gradius.
Oh no. Cross-examination, Emma's recollection.
Oh god. When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark.
Yes, at least I think it was him.
You think?
All I could really see were shadows.
And the power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports.
So then you...
Why would you do something so dangerous?
What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall.
So you seem convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife.
Well, I didn't know at the time. When that dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was I've got to help Mr. Marshall.
What do you mean you think?
It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur.
In a matter of just a few seconds, Miss Sky was almost killed. Then she witnessed a murder about to take place. A little disorientation is only natural.
I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife.
What you did was very brave, young girl. So then what happened next?
Are you sure about this?
Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him here.
But the head detective of criminal affairs thought this a hideous beast, and that was just this year. Blue Badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable.
I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember.
Oh, brother. Just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion.
Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing?
His shadow. So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all?
That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns.
This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation. If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when that lightning flashed? Who is this Blue Badger really? I have to say, because if I say no, then it doesn't matter. I have to say I might know. Blue Badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture, yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the Blue Badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room.
The Black Badger!
Mr. Wright.
In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us the mysterious Blue Badger lookalike.
It's the jar, isn't it? Because we put it together. How do I do this again? Like this. Oh my gosh, it is! Oh wait, do I have to do it on the... Oh no, this is... Yeah. The mysterious blue badger was in fact this.
Well, that's... what exactly is that?
I believe
An
it's...
abomination.
I believe it's some sort of jar. And then Nightshade never came back.
Sorry about that.
Okay. I'll repeat again. I believe it's some sort of jar.
But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger.
Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint?
Our viewpoint?
I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this. Oh, damn it, I just did it.
Yeah, no, it amused me that you did that because you have to do it here, so...
Like that? Would that be the way?
I don't know. This damn game is so finicky with how you have to present this piece of evidence. But as far as I remember, you don't get penalized if you get it wrong.
Well, is this a miracle or what?
First try.
Ta-da! Why is it bloody red? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger.
The red badger.
No. It can't be! Oh, but it is.
Order! Order! I keep saying order and none of you guys are listening to me. The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witness on the day of the crime was actually this.
Although we all enjoy Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edward. You see, this changes everything. Indeed. Very well then, please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? Well,
Think about
I
it.
would think the location would be important. One, two. I think it's like it doesn't even matter what you would choose because
Does it? Where is that jar
it
located
has to
again?
be. It has to be the location then, because it's where Gant's room. Well, not room. It's where Gant's desk was. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. Not only that, but she saw it at a very specific angle. Knowing this, where could she have seen this jar?
Where?
The location of the jar is shown in the picture taken on the day of the crime. Oh, it's on the shelf of the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Do you know about shadows?
The hedgehog?
And it is these two facts that reveal what exactly transpired. You see, the struggle between Dart and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason.
Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright?
I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying?
That would have to have been the impact the man made when he knocked into the wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would have hit? He would have hit...
The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword.
Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall wielding the prosecutor's award. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes. There is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room.
Another possibility?
Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. I don't know if I can go through with this.
Mr. Wright, what's the matter?
If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall.
You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No!
Uh-oh. Uh-oh! Thud! Oh no! She knock out? I never imagined her testimony would lead to this.
So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented.
And objection! Oh! What? What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Guy, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body. It was so Emma wouldn't get accused. Was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edward, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't.
Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence.
If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. Well, if we did have, a particular medium with us, maybe.
Yeah, but back in training, not available for this case. We're on home. Also last day, so we can't bring her back from the mountains.
This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touché, Miss Sky. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility?
What do you mean, Miss Edward?
I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. Somehow. That's impossible.
Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist?
I've got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind, I'm gonna have to say exists. It's in the evidence. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister's a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Sky. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek: the truth. No matter how painful it may be.
Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased.
What the freaking... See, I would say the strip club, but that just doesn't seem right. Even though it has her fingerprint on it. I feel like this cloth still has nothing to do with it. I guess I present it. I present the jar then. This is the message left by the deceased.
This is that blue badger from before, right?
Oh, he is going to just speak the killer's name. If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here on the surface of this jar.
What do you mean?
If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice. For some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away.
Yes, there's a line here drawn in blood.
So what you're saying is these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No.
Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us?
Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. I've got to connect these dots to meet the letter. There's only one thing the victim would have written, given the circumstances. The murderer's name. Like, how do I do this, actually?
Pretty much, you know,
I think
like
okay.
a line.
Oh, like that. Okay. Oh, how weird this... Wow, this is really weird to control.
Mm-hmm. It's as if it was meant for a touchscreen. You're screwing up here. No, not that one.
Oh, no, not that one. How do I...
I don't know if you can erase.
Undo.
Oh, you can undo.
V1.
Okay.
Okay. So it's this one then. And then this is the A.
I just hope this game ain't gonna...
Here we go! It's a defense attorney's duty to prove his client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Because she really did do a murder. It just wasn't Detective Goodman's. It was dark. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. It makes sense now!
Of all the people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life
Was Emma Skye.
See, Worthy? Can't say I didn't warn you.
Oh, Gant. I forgot about this effort. Chief Gant.
Do you understand the implication of what you've done?
What? What are you talking about? As I have a wafer in my mouth.
2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Yes, were they? Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death.
Can you really say he was an innocent man, considering he, ran over someone, killed a child, killed, the witness,
Was still accused of a murder he did not commit. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction.
But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable.
I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? We aren't defenders of justice.
What?
We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter, even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery. Ultimately, the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied.
What is going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to his death.
How can he just stand there like it wasn't his fault?
Order, 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 order!
Chaos!
The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows. Holy moly, what an episode. We're not done. Oh my god. Can we be done with this stupid I am done. I am done with this story, dude. So now it falls into place. Was the tip that they found the tip of that knife, or was it the found of that armor's knife?
No. This is the tip of the knife. That's already been established. But you have to keep in mind something, is that you have a bunch of fakies in your list.
That's true, I do. Alright, in the next episode, I hope we can get this done, and we're not done. It's not over so much.
Did I told you?
Yep.
We're in the end game now.
Yep. This was Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, with me and Nightshade.
This is going to be a trip.
And with that, we are out of here.